classified Lake Vostok. They took it away from JPL, who was monitoring it, and with satellites and all. You're familiar with Lake Vostok in Antarctica?
No. Oh, no.
Oh God, that's a sensitive story in itself. Under the ice in Antarctica, there is a freshwater lake, deep, deep down under the ice. That's 100 miles long, about 50 miles wide. Fresh water. The temperature in the damn lake is about 65 degrees, which is pleasant swimming, you might say. But at the end of Lake Vostok is what's known as a gigantic mass con, a mass concentration of metal, very similar to the mass cons they discovered on the moon. Gigantic circular-shaped metallic objects deep under the ice at the end of Lake Vostok. Highly classified. JPL had it. National Security Agency took it away from JPL. It's one of the most sensitive things in the world now as to what is the anomaly at the end of the lake, the mass concentration that is so easily picked up by satellites. Another top secret, the common folk, you're not supposed to know that.
Right.
Why? Well, you can't handle it, you see. The implications of it are just too vast.
Well, tell me this. Do the Chinese know it?
Oh, I'm sure they do. As you may know, the Chinese now have gone into space in a big way. It never gets into the newspaper, but the last I heard, the Chinese have a satellite orbiting the moon, taking lots of pictures.
Welcome to the world, 2116. You can fly across town in minutes, or across the globe in under an hour. Whole communities are living on Mars, and solar satellites provide Earth with unlimited clean power. In less than a century, Boeing took the world from seaplanes to space planes, across the universe and beyond. And if you thought that was amazing, you just wait.
What was that?
Tyler, do you feel that? Tyler! Tyler!
Mom?
Stay where you are. I'm coming for you.
My God.
Since their arrival, there's been no contact with any of the 29 ships now hovering over the major cities of the world.
Sergeant, I'm
Counterterrorism
FBI.
is getting
I'm
past.
looking for my son.
Everybody is looking for their
son.
Mom!
Don't be frightened. We mean no harm. Calling themselves the visitors.
Dude, that is so cool. The world's in bad shape, Father. Who wouldn't welcome a savior right now?
They healed me, and I got no pain.
It's amazing.
It's been 3 weeks since the visitors' arrival, yet thousands are still flocking to see the motherships in person.
Welcome to the New York mothership. My name is Lisa.
We're all so quick to jump on the bandwagon, but before we get on, let us at least examine it.
They've been printing fake docs, passports, IDs. They cleared out like they knew we were coming.
Ryan, please.
Look, I told you I'm not that guy anymore, okay? Stop calling me.
We need your help.
I want him.
Anna would like you to do the interview.
But that's the danger. Gratitude can morph into worship.
They say that you two are obsessed with the V's.
You know what, the V's? They call it spreading hope.
Do you have any questions before we go to air?
Just be sure not to ask anything that would paint us in a negative light.
Excuse me?
I know the real reason you're here, Father, and I am not the only one.
We're honored and privileged to be able to assist mankind with our knowledge and technology.
They've been implementing a plan that will result in the extermination of every man, woman, and child.
If you could speak to the protesters, what would you say?
That embracing change is never easy, but the reward for doing so can be far greater than anything you can imagine.
They gain trust with the promise of friendship. And of course, all they're really doing is positioning themselves as the saviors of mankind.
They're arming themselves with the most powerful weapon out there.
What's that?
Devotion.
What do we do now?
We'll fight.
Pieces of this piece of titanium, a special titanium alloy made for everything from the original SR-71 Blackberry, it's old hat now. F-117A is their old hat now. They're making a whole new class of hypersonic above Mach 5 aircraft that employ extremely modern charged particle beam weapons. They don't even use lasers anymore. Computer-enhanced imaging radar, although it's used in helicopters for public surveillance, computer-enhanced imaging radar, and in satellite technology. The brand new kid on the block is a kind of infrared technology where a satellite 150,000 miles out in a geosynchronous orbit, or not quite geosynchronous orbit, but these spy satellites can literally look in and see a dime on the floor, say on your kitchen floor. They have a resolution factor of 99.999961. This particular piece of metal, I'm going to drop it on the floor here, it'll kind of ring like a bell. You can't break it. Withstand temperatures in excess of 7,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It has niobium in it. It also has mironite in it, element 123. Yeah, please do. It's in a non-crystalline form. This is just kind of a dripping out of the main crucible. Here's a crystalline example. It's in the scalenohedral crystalline form. We got this from the large grays technology. This is grown in the confines of outer space, which has not quite a super vacuum, but by the way, this is capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's great for certain parts of aircraft. This kind of material I work with on a daily basis. Boring machines, for instance, they don't bore, they literally vitrify and melt the rock, deflagrate the rock. It's a very sophisticated laser melting and deflagrating system. It reduces the rock to a powder and then melts the remaining rock as a coating on the inside of the base, so you don't have to use gunite cements and other kinds of things like that. That's all old hat now. Technology is just basically the new technology we get is the old hat of the military. I'm going to be real brief about it. I carried a level 1 security clearance, the Rylate 38 factor. There are very few of us. There's nobody except myself, to my knowledge, talking like this. Nobody. I'm breaking the law. I'm breaking world as well as federal law. I'm coming out and even talking about this to a group of people. I love my country more than I love my life. 2 weeks ago, I was shot in the shoulder. I don't want to gore you women out, but I was shot in the shoulder up here. I recently have become friends of a retired FBI agent who took me under the wing. He says, I've never seen a person braver than you. And I said, well, there's more coming. Our patriot movement in these United States is going to pick up the ball, and we are going to kick the parasites out. First of all, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, a few other founding fathers, Patrick Henry to mention a few, all had visions that these United States is going to live 700 years from where they were standing, and that was somewhere around the late 1700s, early 1800s. So you can count this country. This country isn't going to go to a new world order. I believe firmly in constitutional law. I'm not very well skilled in it, and that's my embarrassment. But I'm going to be real blunt about it. The government that is now instilled in ruling over us are ruling as we're serfs and they're the kings and queens. Now, That's a feudal system. That isn't even a democracy. We are now being ruled by an autocracy and a technocracy. In other words, technical knowledge as rules as king, with a feudal-type system. Feudal systems haven't been used in the last 350 years, and they're coming back like gangbusters. If we are complacent, if we do not speak out in droves, and I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about a bunch of us getting together and getting on this stump and loving our country more than we love our lives, getting on, some of us are going to get killed. I almost got killed a couple of weeks ago. Hadn't been for an FBI, a retired FBI man who risked his life, his career, everything, put it all on the line, and he didn't know me from Adam. A week prior to that, he listened to one of my tapes I gave up in Post Falls, Idaho, and I'm going to be very blunt about, he said that we need a lot more of you, but unfortunately we're not getting anybody. Well, I was involved in building another base inside of Dulce, New Mexico, which is Los Alamos Laboratory. It's a biological laboratory. On the southwest part of the Archuleta Mesa, we built an underground facility, a better part of 3 cubic miles hollowed out underground. Then to the southwest of that, we were in the process of the early stages of building. We drilled 4 large tunnel-like holes. Some of them ran 2.5 miles under the surface. Number of the original wells or drilling machines that were used were at the rate of 2 miles a day. It was fairly rapid. The equipment kept coming up broken. So we wanted to go down, we wanted to send somebody down there, a human observer, or human observers in this case, to find out what was going on. Well, to our total surprise, first of all, the government knew all about it. They didn't tell anybody. When I saw Green Beret and Black Beret people encamped inside of our geologist camp, I knew something was up, the gig was up. First of all, I knew all about the alien agenda. I'll explain that in a few minutes. The large alien grays had been encamped there for as best as believed possible about 400 or 500 years. It had been one of their internal bases. And we drilled holes right on top of it. All the stinking air, all the black sooty air came right out as soon as the first hole was sunk, and all this soot came up, and well, that's when all the hell broke loose, really, all started. Anyway, after we drilled all 4 holes, it took about 2 days to drill all 4 of them. And when you build an underground base, you drill 4 basic holes, and then you build called stopes or cross-member holes across, and then you use blasting equipment, special blasting equipment by the analyzation of the rock formation, and you literally blast out or tunnel out or deflagrate or melt rock out to build the large rooms that are required for this underground base. Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot-tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was, or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This is in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die. However, in the process, one of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish, and burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot. Burnt the shoe right off of me. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me that risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the basket and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted. He lost his life. 66 Secret Service agents, Green Berets, Black Berets, crack troops lost their lives because the government, our United States government, lied, did not tell us anything about the alien threat. There's a war underneath there, and I'm talking dead serious.
What do you remember about the shooting, if you're willing to talk about that?
Obviously I was there, but I don't remember the exact moment. I don't remember pulling my gun out of my body or whatever it was located, and I don't remember aiming it at any human being. I don't remember any of that, Mr. President. And I've said that from the get-go.
Yeah, I understand. So
it's not that I'm trying to evade.
No, I understand. Let me just ask you a question. When did you start remembering things? After the shooting? What was the first thought that you had after the shooting?
Everything was always hazy in my head about that. And Attorney Teeter, who passed away, was trying to get a specialist, Dr. Herbert Spiegel in New York, to hypnotize me and to regress me and to do all that.
But when did you start remembering things clearly after the shooting?
I really don't remember things clearly about it, other than just the historical...
No, I'm not asking about the shooting part. I'm asking afterwards. When did you start remembering things in reality?
In reality, all the reality of this whole thing hit me when I was on death row, facing my own
death. So how many months later was that?
Oh, I would say maybe a year, 2 years.
So you don't remember a lot of things between the shooting and being on death row?
I wasn't too much worried about that, Mr. President. I was worried about saving my own butt from execution.
One of the things that we look at in your case here, and every case is different, was the crime itself. And this indeed, there is, I mean, every murder, which is predominantly what we deal with, is horrible. Certainly to the individual and to the perpetrator, that being the inmate. It certainly is horrible to the family. The individuals, you gotta listen here, guys. Individuals lose in a very dramatic, fast way a loved one that can never be replaced. But this crime went far beyond that, and we need to recognize that. Mr. Kennedy was a winning candidate in California, as you know. I'm repeating things we already know. And there was a groundswell that was a very popular groundswell for the hope that he gave some people, a lot of people. So indeed, it wasn't just the Kennedy family, which was certainly large enough and prominent enough to be of a tragic nature. There was a loss prior to that. There was indeed. You're not going to talk in the middle of my. You're going backwards here, partly, and you need to stay on track and just listen. I'm giving you our reasons for that.
If I was to give you a piece of paper and a pencil, and I wrote down 1, 2, and 3, and I said, make a list of the people that maybe you feel that you've harmed, who would be number 1 on the list?
Well, definitely the Kennedy family and the Kennedys. I would say that I would treat them all equally, and the victims who were injured in this, and the public, and the Bobby Kennedy's friends, and the people who voted for. This whole thing was it's a horrible nightmare, really, for not just for me, but for you people, and for the whole country, and especially for the family members. and Mr. Wiesel and others who were injured in this.